Interesting stuff. Now to a major announcement from the federal government regarding the I-5 bridge replacement project between Portland and Vancouver. The IBR team got $1.5 billion in new federal money today. Yes, billion with a B. It's the biggest federal transportation funding awarded in Washington state history, according to the Senators Maria Cantwell and Patty Murray. The money comes from the appropriately named Bridge Investment Program, which is one of the pieces of President Biden's $1 trillion infrastructure package that Congress passed back in 2021. That bill also created the federal mega grant program, which handed the Interstate Bridge project $600 million late last year, so it's starting to add up. In both cases, the project received essentially the entire amount of funding that they'd applied for. If you've been wondering whether this thing is ever actually going to be built, Program Administrator Greg Johnson says today's grant in particular is a very good sign.
I think this is, once again, an indication of the confidence that our federal partners have in the program, that we're doing the right things, that we are approaching this in the right way. I think that's the most important takeaway from getting a grant this large, is that we have a unified region that says it's time to stop talking about this project, time to start getting it done.
All right, so how much money does the project actually have lined up at this point, and how much more do they need? Well, here's where things stand. Back in January 2023, the project team published a financial plan that listed the total cost at somewhere between $5 and $7.5 billion, with a target of about $6 billion. That's the cost to not only replace the bridge, by the way, but also to extend light rail to Vancouver and upgrade several miles of the freeway to the north and south of the bridge. The plan envisions splitting that bill 4 ways: $1 billion from Oregon, $1 billion from Washington, at least $2.5 billion from the federal government, and the remainder from you in the form of tolls, at least $1 billion there. Oh yeah, tolls are still coming. Today's grant award does not change that. Oregon and Washington have each put up their $1 billion, and the two states have a committee now set up to plan out the tolling program. On the federal side, the plan was to split that $2.5 billion between 3 different programs: a mega grant, bridge investment, and something called the Capital Investment Grants New Starts Program, which is meant for public transportation projects. The goal was to get $1.5 billion from the first 2 programs combined, and then another $1 billion from New Starts. They still haven't applied to the New Starts, but today's announcement brings the total for the first 2 grants to $2.1 billion. So, you know, financially, if you're keeping up, they're actually ahead of schedule. So, does this mean they'll be asking for less money from the New Starts program? Well, no. According to Johnson, they'll still be asking for $1 billion, but there's some good reasons for that. First of all, just because all 3 grants come from the federal government does not mean that they can be treated as a single pot of money.
With the transit piece, certain dollars can only be used for certain aspects of the project. And so this $1.5 billion cannot be utilized for the transit portion of the project. So we will still be looking for those federal transit dollars to complete the transit portion of the funding.
In other words, the bridge money has to go to the bridge, and the light rail money has to go to light rail. And by the way, that light rail portion, it's expected to cost at least $1.3 billion. So they need as much light rail money as they can get. On the bridge side, these grants may put them ahead of the game based on the $6 billion price tag from January 2023. But, you know, come on, if we've learned anything from these monster projects, there is no way that's the final price.
Right now, that is our best estimate. But we recognize, since we performed that work back in 2022, that we have seen inflation in the construction markets just exceed what anyone could have predicted.
All right, so what's the new damage? Well, according to Johnson, they don't exactly know yet. There's an updated cost estimate in the works, but we probably won't see it for another year because of the ongoing federal environmental review process of bridge designs. That is supposed to be done early next year. And by that time, the design will have been pared down to a single version, and that's the version the team wants to use for the next cost estimate. So great news in regards to more federal funds today, but the total cost for the project is still very fluid and it won't even be estimated until sometime in 2025. The next step for the project later this year is to gather public feedback. I know you want to say a lot about that. We'll be sure to let you know when that opens up. In the meantime, you can talk to us right now. Feel free to fire away your feedback on the bridge project. You know the drill. Email us. The address is thestory@kgw.com, or you can call and leave a voicemail. The number is 503-226-5090.